Bamboo Jack, they called him. I never knew just why, but one good drink would start him in, so I signaled I would buy. He was slouching at the bar now, with a sly, dry, discouraged look. The round was served as with a bow he grasped my hand and shook. Jack downed his drink, then turned again, and started with his story. I'll spin a yarn, it may sound tame, for in it there's no glory. I starved and rotted neath the Jap and bowed beneath his bluster. Just take a peek at Asia's map. It shows the spot there, Buster. We built a railroad, made it run from Thailand into Burma. We carted crosties by the ton and cursed more than a murmur. From Singapore up country bound, a freight train cleared the station in Thailand at Ban Pong Town. It reached its destination. That freight train discharged 600 men. They marched into the jungle. 400 ne'er came out again, a cruel and senseless bungle. Australian, Dutch, Yank, and Malay, the prisoners of each nation. We slogged on through the heat each day, a polyglot formation. The buzzards watched from dizzy heights with grisly fascination, the sickly fall back out of sight despite our exhortations. A week-long march, 100 miles, we reached Camp Hintok Hollow, pitched our tents, then with cruel smiles, our captors bade us follow. No brief respite in our camp, we marched out to construction. A trestle across a swamp so damp would end with our destruction. We tugged the teak logs o'er the crags and harnessed like the ox, excretion running down our legs, the stench as strong as pox. Great timbers felled mid-jungle hills, we sawed them, hewn them to a size, despite the blighted swampland ills that structure did arise. Persuasion was a slophead's kick, baguero, cura, passwords, beatings, bashings of the stick, were watched by 100 deathbirds. I cursed the day that I was born, yes, I forgot to pray, but out to work each rainy morn, we were living anyway. Hard and callous men became a friend no longer the niceties, none did e'er remain, our tribulations stronger. Seaweed, saltfish, and cold red rice, for those you'd slay your kin, starvation was the bitter price, for we beleaguered men. We dined on dogs and cats or mice. Those on a lucky day, food was bought at any price, there was the hell to pay. We slept on round, rolled in a sack. Malaria racked our bones. Home sweet home was a bamboo rack. Lullaby, your brother's groans, your neighbor's groans. We dream of home, you may surmise, and stateside when it's done, but home was a distant paradise beyond the dim horizon. Hintok Camp, fifth ridden hole, our tents and beds were rotten. The lice and rain destroyed our soul, man died, forlorn, forgotten. No pest house from a bygone age could match its stench and squalor. The jungle held us like a cage, and only death could follow. Mosquitoes, flies, and lice did vex the starving, sick, and dying. They praised lot of festering wrecks, soon failed, long past trying. No Jap entered this foul place, stood up, wind, filmed in wonder. They shouted down from quite a space, the working party's number. Cholera came and took its toll. We dug the graves till midnight. That mighty railroad had to run. We toiled at night till torchlight. Communal graves, their final net, dank trenches weeping deep. One pondered, was it not the best to take this final sleep? No gravestones there to testify who, when, or where they're passing. Unknown, unmarked, now there they lie, in silence everlasting. The Hintok trestle's finished, the word is pack and leave. Our ranks are now diminished, but there's no time to grieve. We stagger off from Hintok Hill, its stench I smell today. Through 4 decades, it's with me still. It will not pass away. We leave it faster than we came. We need to strike our tent. We're used to sleeping in the rain. This move is heaven sent. We leave behind those tattered tents, adrip with monsoon slime. We are a group of battered gents as we crawl off this last time. We shan't forget 400 souls, now silent neath the clay, cut down in youth from earthly goals. It was not planned that way. The monkeys chattered shrill farewell as we scaled our bamboo ladder. Our goodbyes to this jungle hell could not make us sadder. We waited now at Riverside, 2 weeks of lie and mold, then packed aboard for this fast ride, like rice sacks in the hold. At Tarso now a brief delay, next flat cars in the rain, to Canterbury one night and day, was good to see again. A part of us we left back there, deep in the jungle's mist. It may appear we do not care. Or have crossed it off our list. Our callous, jocular facade does take a bit of strain, as though this weary life we plod with memories of past pain. Say, one more round, I'll tell you more, before my eyes get bleary. Our final days in Singapore, perhaps you're growing weary. I bought around and let him rave. He's madder than a hatter. This guy has gone too far to save. It really doesn't matter. Said I, you've lived through trials like this. The States must be a breeze. You never, ever go amiss in this great land of ease. He mumbled, muttered, say no more. I thank you for the drink, then turned and stumbled out the door and left me there to think. This is from After the Battle. It's about Camp Hintok, one of the work camps in Hellfire Pass on the Death Railroad, where the bridge over the River Kwai is, which I visited in Kanchanaburi this month. He wrote the poem, and he also, here you can see they went all the way from the Gulf of Thailand up to the highlands of Burma on the Andaman coast, building this railroad at the cost of many lives, Asian as well as POWs. Here are all the various camps. Here's why their camp was particularly unlucky in its geography and administration. And he made all these great little illustrations as well. And I could go on and on about all the information from the museum, and you saw just a tiny few pictures there amid some pictures from the beautiful Chinese temples of Kanchanaburi, meant to bring peace there back to us. And a little bit of the beauty of nature in Kanchanaburi as well. You could see how thin everybody was. I've had cholera and malaria. I've done a little bit of field work in tropical conditions. That was grueling. Those diseases were grueling. I can't imagine doing them while suffering those diseases and malnourished, although I did lose 100 pounds or more in my time in Africa. And then on top of that, sleeping rough at night, your body must just shut down at some point. The pain receptors must say, you know what, I'm not even going to register these pains anymore because there's no relief. See how thin they were driving metal. Imagine just hitting that with a metal hammer and you're nothing but bone. So I apologize for pronouncing and leaving in the couple racial slurs there, but I feel it's important to leave such things in and not whitewash things. These are what people said. These are what people felt. It's not beyond my power to censor them, I feel. There you go. You can see even in sleep, or maybe they're dead. Yeah, that's a grave, I was going to say. But even they're sleeping not much more comfortable than that. So little relief. I got a video that I also put up there. You can see the train going by, and another video about the bridge over the river Buffalo. You have to watch that one to figure out the mystery there. There it is. And I took the train there from Bangkok, which is a beautiful journey. But I didn't get up Hellfire Pass, but I will next time I visit Kanchanaburi. That's where most people died. Only like 8 people died on the bridge. There you go. This is by John W. Wisecup. Thank you.